Hi, so it is currently day 18 for me in quarantine, and you know, I think it's time to do something a little crazy, add some pizzazz in my life. Today, I am going to challenge myself to recreate the most famous painting of all time, the Mona Lisa, painted by arguably the best artist of all time. I know it's hard to believe that it's not me, but my boy, Leonardo da Vinci. Before we get into it, if you are bored during quarantine, you guys want to see some good trash, head on over to my TikTok. There I have art tutorials as well as art tips. And if you want to see other artwork of mine, head on over to thine Instagram. And if you want to get really crazy during quarantine, you can even check out my Twitter. I'm gonna be honest here, nobody follows my Twitter, so it'd be cool if you could. And yeah, without further ado, let's get this party started. Now, when it comes to crayons, believe it or not, I don't just have Crayola. I actually have a few other brands and varieties, so let's go over those right now. Of course, I'm gonna be using the staple, the one, the only 48 pack of Crayola crayons. These are just like the most classic crayons you could absolutely have, which there's supposed to be 48 in here, but for a TikTok hack, I used 4 of them. Do not add glue. I repeat, do not add glue. And the worst part is that TikTok hack didn't even work out, so I wasted those good crayons for nothing. Now, as far as like the pigmentation goes of the Crayolas, I would say that's not bad at all. That's definitely something I can work with. Although I don't want to get ahead of myself because I have never in my life blended 2 Crayolas together. So I'm curious to see how blending will work with these. Okay, that's actually not bad at all. I would say this is pretty good. The pigment, the blendability, it passes the vibe check. The next set of crayons that I'm going to be using today, and these crayons I've never used before, they're honestly just a novelty crayon that I got for Christmas that Zach gave me, and these guys are literally the coolest crayons in existence. These are Andy Warhol Campbell Soup crayons. Andy Warhol is one of my favorite artists. He is a pop artist who did a whole entire series featuring the Campbell soup cans, and every single crayon is named after like one of his paintings, like the theme of it. And these crayons, I don't know if they're gonna be any good since they're novelty crayons, but I really wanted to use them at least one time in my life. God, this little thing is loud. These kind of remind me of those crayons you get at Red Robin. But I don't think I should be too hard on these because these are just a novelty crayon. Like the Crayola, we'll do the blend test. Oh wow. Do you see the difference in pigment? Do you see how like dark and deep this one is versus how light this one is? Yeah, these crayons are definitely not made for art. They're just made for looking cute, just like Bowie. Oh gosh. On second thought, I don't know if I'm gonna use these crayons because, yikes. Now these next crayons, I really debated, like, should I put them in, should I not? But ultimately I decided to go with these because they are crayons and they are really good. And these are the Caran d'Ache Neo Color 1 wax resistant, water resistant wax crayons. Now these are basically the top of the line crayons. I did a whole video on these and let me tell you, the price was not cheap. Boom, look at that. Ah, so beautiful. The texture is literally just crayons, but man, the pigment on these is so beautiful. It's so smooth, it doesn't go everywhere. That, my friends, is the stuff. Ooh, she is looking so good, especially when you compare it to that.
Alright, so now that I've tested out everything, I have a good feel for everything, it's time to actually start the drawing. Now, since I'm using crayons for the first time to ever make a serious drawing, I have to be very careful with the paper. Like, I don't want it to have too much thickness to it because then it's gonna overlap and get super waxy and I won't be able to blend. And you don't want a super smooth paper like printer paper because then it's not gonna catch that much wax and you're gonna have the exact opposite problem of the last one. So it's like a weird Goldilocks kind of thing, like not too hot, not too cold, just like the perfect amount of paper. And in this case, it's mixed media paper, which naturally, it's already a combination of like watercolor paper and regular paper. I'm fully convinced it is designed for this. Alright, so the first step of the actual drawing will be to sketch out the proportions, and I'm literally just going to go in there and sketch it out by hand because the Mona Lisa already is a very proportionate painting, so it'll be very easy to transfer the proportions onto a piece of paper. And you'll notice instead of just doing the outline, I'm going in with the shadows and the highlights. The reason I'm doing that is to help me better understand the proportions because there's so much shadows in the Mona Lisa. It can be a little tricky to find exactly where the outline is. And I really want the proportions to be perfect because that's like 90% of the drawing is like getting the proportions correctly. So when I was sketching this out, I beat up the paper just a little bit, just like constantly erasing and redrawing. So I'm gonna transfer this photograph onto a new piece of paper. That way we can have a nice fresh start. Now, if you don't know how to transfer your artwork onto a new piece of paper, I'm gonna show you right now. First, get a Conte or chalk stick. It could literally be any chalk. Then I'm gonna rub it all over the back of my drawing as so. Here we go. Flip that bad boy over, and then you're gonna very precisely and kind of hard press and go over the outline of your drawing, specifically with a mechanical pencil because it's very precise, very good, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Okay, moment of truth. Hopefully it worked. Sometimes it doesn't work. 1, 2, 3. Hey, it worked. Okay, good. And so now I think I'm ready to go ahead and start working with the crayons. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to do is go in with my Crayolas, and I'm going to start working on the most forgiving thing I can think of, the hair. And let me tell you, as somebody who's very heavy-handed, it wasn't even 6 minutes in when this happened. Now, the good thing with crayons is that there's no drying time. The second that you put down that crayon, it's on that piece of paper forever, you know? And I really appreciate that. So I finished the hair fairly quickly. I'm going to go over it later with the nicer crayons. But I figured, you know, it's the perfect time to start working on the face, which is probably the most hardest part of the whole entire drawing. So we went from really easy to the hardest part. One time in my life, I was lucky enough to see a real life, in the flesh, Leonardo da Vinci painting. And let me tell you, it looked so realistic. It didn't even look like a painting. It looked like next level. Like the blending was insane. And to try to get something like that on crayons, it's gonna be tough. So I'm at a pretty good stopping point when it comes to the face, but I'm burnt out from working on it because there's so much blending to it. So I'm going to work on the next thing, which will be her dress, and then from there, go back to the background, and then finish up the face. Isn't that right, Bowie? Now, I have just mentioned, when it comes to this, there is a lot of blending, and during the whole entire process of me creating the face, I think I got the blending down to, I don't want to sound cocky, but a pretty good science, you know, and it took a lot of trial and error. So I'm going to show you guys how I blend specifically with this. First, I go in with the undertone and the lightest crayon. So for the example, the dress is green. I'm going to go in with a light green. Then I go in with the darker Crayola, which is the shadow, just to add a little bit more depth. And then I go in and blend everything out with the nice crayons, the Caran d'Ache crayons. And that seemed to work really, really well. I rate the quality of mixing these two brands together a 10 out of 10. Alright, so now I'm almost done. I still got the face, and of course the background, which we gotta start now. And when I was sketching it, I noticed so many things that I've never seen before. And I'm somebody who's literally seen the Mona Lisa, not in person, but pictures of it thousands and thousands of times, you know. And I never in my life noticed this little bridge. Like, where did that come from? Well, that was fun, but now it's time to get serious, get back to the face. So I'm gonna go in and start sharpening all the crayons because I need to get very precise. And it can be kind of scary to like go in there with a straight black, but I need to add more shadows, more highlights. I need to get in there and make it look like a Renaissance painting. And once the proportions are fixed up, lastly, just gotta blend. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to the final product. Well, there you go. I'm actually really happy with how it came out. If you guys want to see more art challenges, I will leave a playlist down below. And yeah, stay safe, guys, and I will see you next video. Bye.